lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today has to do with me. Selfishly, I appreciate that.
Yes,
So,
yes, because
I mean,
you're in the mode of rebuild mode with
trainer involved. I'm turning 43 in 2 weeks. I'm at that point in my life where I'm a younger guy still. I feel like I'm 53, but no, I'm doing the thing where it's like I'm tired in the middle of the day, and I'm in that cycle right now where it's like too tired to work out, but I need to work out in order to feel the energy, right? So I'm in this weird thing and I'm like, got to force myself through it. But we're going to talk about today is like how peptides are involved with that, but they're not going to fix my problem.
No, but the hope is that there's always a certain amount of your brain kind of telling you, especially if you're amped on doing something, that you're probably getting even a bigger response than you really are. There's that little bit of motivation that kicks
placebo
in.
effect.
Yeah, there always is. I mean, and the same thing can work on a lot of people once they get used to things, that things aren't working anymore, right? Because they're like the placebo effect in the beginning. When people call me and they're like, yeah, I used BPC and day one, like, oh yeah, I had a torn rotator cuff. Look at me now. I'm like, doesn't work that fast. Right. It's the same thing with like stem cells and exosomes. So they go, oh yeah, I did my injection and like within like 4 days, I'm like, or maybe you just didn't have it as bad an injury as you were leading up to saying you did, kind of thing. But no, whatever gets someone motivated. That's why it's like buying a gym membership helps force people to go because they don't want to spend money on not do it, right? So
me having a trainer,
well, that always is because then you have someone actually holding you accountable. When it's only you, that's hard in the beginning because you can find a million excuses until you get in the rhythm. And I think the hardest one for most people is they always blame it on time, right? There's never time. It's like, no, you just prioritize your time for other things. A lot of people, they say they don't have enough time, but they watch 2.5, 3 hours of TV at the end.
That's a brain thing. You make excuses.
So if I get it, you're not going to want to go maybe the gym at 8:00 at night, because maybe you watch TV from 8 to 11 every night. You're not going to want to do that. But if you kind of reverse that and go, well, maybe my day ends an hour later because I went to the gym, or you don't even watch TV at all, 4 nights a week or something. And you get home and maybe it just gets turned on for you when you go to pass out or something. Which one's more important to you?
Well, it's all a decision, right? Because I have these things. It's like I have this choice where I could break off time in the middle of the day. I could wake up at 6 in the morning and go do it. It's a choice of whether or not you want to do it.
I always say it's better just to go in the morning. I mean, the thing about it is you can always find, and it's not even your fault. Like there is things that will come up that you can prioritize or categorize as more important than the gym. Because you can always go, oh, I'll just go tomorrow. If you just go first thing in the morning, that never comes up because it's your first thing out the gate.
See, here's where I'm going to disagree. People prioritize comfort.
Working out is not comfortable.
So that's what I'm saying is people prioritize their comfort. And that's the excuse. This is coming from a personal level, right?
Yeah.
You might go and not work out for a week and you're going to feel like shit because it almost is your comfort.
Well, it's turned into that. I think
that's the point you want to get to.
Most people that are like fanatics about working out, or even like these people that are like myself that are fully into like optimization and peptides, all that stuff. Like it's weird that you look forward to the injections, which is kind of weird to people.
Before. I know exactly.
But you're like excited to start something. Like if you have a plan for the year, which I know we're going to talk about like energy and stuff in mitochondria function, but you don't run, everything at once. There's breaks, there's gaps. You don't need them all the time. So you kind of look at it, you go, oh, next month is my MOT-C month or something like that. And you look at it like, okay, cool. I'm going to give my body that boost that maybe you're trailing off from the previous time you ran it, right? So it turns into this looking forward to.
I'm trying something too. Once you kind of start getting in those modes of like you feeling the actual effect of it, because
sure,
you kind of, I'm going to go back to something you said earlier, which is like you do BPC for the first time and you get the placebo effect of like, oh yeah, it worked on the first injection. We kind of know scientifically that's not necessary.
Well, I mean, there is comfort that you get, right? It's just it didn't fix the problem in the one day. But when you're talking about inflammation leads to pain or a discomfort, and when you use it like a TB, a BPC, a combo, all those things, your body gets that relief. You feel like 1,000 times better. A lot of times people don't realize how bad they really are until they fix it and they go, why did I live with that? A lot of people that like avoid surgeries, they're like, oh, I'll deal with it. And then they get surgery like, oh my God, why did I wait 2, 3, 10 years?
Right.
So when you first started, that relief is so significant. And that's why I always tell people, I go, just because you feel better doesn't mean stop. Like you got to get all the way through the healing. I've had this freaking shoulder thing going forever and there's no like permanent damage. It's just scar tissue and buildup and all the crap in my shoulder because I keep just slowly tearing that area and I don't ever take the time off. And because I know I'm not taking the time off, I don't run like the recovery. I kind of get to the point where I'm like, okay, I actually need to stop for a little bit. And then I start coming back and I never get it all the way through. And then, of course, every 3 to 4 months.
We've proven that you're human too, right?
Yeah.
We all kind of go through those phases.
Yeah.
So
I'm back on BPC and TB 500 again because I'm like at the point, literally, it's like I was doing shoulder press. And I think I was doing 90 pounds on the machine. I'm like, oh, this isn't feeling good. Right. So I'm like, okay, I need to.
Well, I think it's good time now to actually talk about kind of like demystifying what a peptide is, right? Because I think we've kind of talked about some high level stuff in the middle. So let's like really break down kind of like the basics of everything. You could say peptide. You could put a peptide in a cream. You could put peptide in a drink. You could do an injectable peptide.
Collagen peptides.
What is a peptide? What does that mean? What is happening when taking a peptide?
For us, I mean, we're stringing amino acids together to create a grouping that creates a response in the human body, right? So the crazy part is there's so many different levels of what we talk about in that like small molecule and bioregulator peptide world. And now we're getting into using proteins, like even larger molecules and larger sets of those amino acids. And it really is just peptides are that signaling response that simply has a task, maybe it has multiple tasks, but it does those tasks and those tasks alone. So you don't really see a side effect profile or like something that's like lead to another problem. Now, you obviously can't overdo anything, but they're relatively much safer than a drug would ever be, right? So, you look at something as simple as like an ibuprofen or an aspirin or something like that, right? When you do those, it's like, okay, you take 2 to 4 a day or no more than 8 a day or something like that, right? It says on the box.
Right.
But if you run 8 a day for a year and go look at what your liver and kidney profile
ulcers.
Your stomach. I mean, my dad burnt a hole in his stomach and his esophagus because he liked the taste of aspirin and would eat it. You'd chew them.
Jeez.
Yeah. But I mean, those are like significant side effect profiles. Sure. You run like some of the worst ones, like the GLPs. Yeah, you can if you abuse them, but on low dose, just for like that, you could probably run most forever and never see a side effect that isn't just like irritation and injection side or little things like that.
Your body gets used to it, right? So you need to up the dose for it to kind
of
work.
I mean, if you don't breaks, or you eventually, at some point, your body may say, oh, I don't need to make my own because you're supplementing it, right? If you're doing more than what your body naturally has, that's where the human growth hormone world, which is a more advanced level that you need to go see a doctor to get in that world. You start at 2 or 3 IUs, you get to 60, 70 years old. If you're still using this stuff, you might be on 10, 15, 20 IUs just to keep that same level in your body because your body's just like, oh, forget the 140 I was making. It's out. So then you have to supplement for that as well. That's the same for hormones. You look at testosterone. If you're at a 380, which is not good, and you decide I'm going to go on testosterone, well, your natural test drops to nothing, nil. So you got to make up for that 380 with the testosterone you're supplementing on top. And that's why there are people that, hey, I'm at 650. Should I jump on testosterone? It's like, well, no, your level's probably pretty good, but what is your goal and what are you willing to give up to do it? Like, okay, you want to be at 1200. Well, if you want to be that bad, just know if you ever decide that you don't care anymore, your number probably is not going to ever get back there because you're going to shut it off.
You get off it, you're going to be lower than you
or
were.
You're going to need to use something else to stimulate it to get you there as well. Maybe
Sure.
You're not using tests, you're using, HCG or something along those lines.
Yeah.
To get you
it all makes sense.
So the peptides are just super simple, little small amino strains.
So here's what's kind of an interesting thing, right? We have peptides running throughout our body, right? Is that a fair statement to say?
Yeah, like a couple 100,000. Yeah.
But so we get this little bottle, either comes in powder or if it's reconstituted, it comes in a liquid, right? So is that actually those chains in there, and are you putting them in your body, or what I've heard is signaler, right? So whatever this thing is that we're putting in, is it signaling those peptides to work? And how does that?
No. So I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like they could create a response for another one, but usually you're putting the peptide in for that peptide. But if you look at something like in the brain, like P21 or dihexa, that is going in your body to create, because you can't get BDNF which is like repairs the brain. Mm-hmm. That's too big of a molecule. You can't inject that or take it orally or do anything, it will not cross the blood-brain barrier. So you send that in to create the response for BDNF to be
Almost
created.
Like feeding it, right?
Yeah, so but it's creating a response, right? So that's what they do. So in some cases, some may stimulate more of that, but a lot of times it's like you're signaling a response to pull sugar from the blood or to, increase or reduce inflammation, which inflammation is not a peptide. It's you're using something to reduce the inflammation.
Right. So like in using peptides for beginners, right? Exactly. So there's all this talk about, getting your hormones right, probably for some of the HGH peptides, but like where should somebody start? Why would you not take everything at once? What should you expect to feel? Let's do some beginner.
You got to look at your body, your response. Always talk to your doctor if you're really kind of jumping into something like this. As anybody gets better at something, like when you learn to play baseball, you have coaches, or then eventually you can go to the batting cage, swing the bat yourself. You can figure out how to get better and where your swing's at. When it comes to this, you've got to write down the list of what you want to improve that a peptide might be related to. Or if you go get a genetic test, like we talk about blood all the time, but a lot of the time your blood report's only going to give you kind of a basis for hormones, kidney function. You can actually start testing like IGF-1, things like that. But there's ways to actually test for these foods, but you can't really test for like peptides. Like, do I make enough of that peptide in the body? That's not what you're testing. You're just looking at the body and saying, okay, is there something wrong with it that I should be focusing on? However, peptides a lot of times are more like beneficial for prevention. So you're looking at a prevention model. Okay, I don't want to ever get fat, or I want to slow down aging. You don't want to get old and then try and reverse it. Right. So I think an even more important test that people should look at is doing a genetic test. When I took age code, which is probably the most advanced genetic test you can see. So I want you guys all take it too. But
terrified to see my results.
I know it. To be honest with you, when you really get into it, it is very, very shocking because things that you're like, this makes no sense. Why this is all like looks like a dumpster fire. A common Jay Campbell term, because you start looking at it and it gives you like a 0 to 100. Some of the ranges are different, right? And sometimes you want to be in the middle. That's good. Where you are in your age bracket. So if I'm 44, you're turning 43, right? In all those, 50 might be like you're right where most people are, or 100 is where you want to be max and then go down. So like some of them you look at, it's like I'm a 2. B vitamins, all that stuff. It's not about taking the vitamins or even sometimes like you're eating or whatever. It's looking at on a cellular level, is your body actually getting those vitamins? So even when you're injecting a methylated version of those vitamins, if you have other deficiencies that don't allow that to absorb into the cell, you have a problem. So like for me, I need to reset the receptors and all that. So I have a choline deficiency. So sometimes you got to go back further to find out why. And this test gives you a ton of those details. When it shows you a deficiency, it doesn't just give you like a line. It gives you 20 things that can help get you there. But at the very end of the report, which is what's so important when I talk about prevention, it shows you your actual genetic markers like 0, 1, 2. And if you have a 0, that means everything looks good. 1 means you need to pay attention to it. You're genetically disposed to something that can go wrong earlier in life, or like maybe you don't process cholesterol as well. So it's like, okay, you need to pay attention to what you eat more than maybe you do. And that's based on ethnicity, race, where you grew up in the world, right? So people that live in Africa or live in Europe or live in America, we might be able to, over time, we've evolved. So like if you live in Hawaii and you eat tuna every day for the last 4,000 years.
Too much mercury or something.
Well, I mean, maybe their body just processes out mercury more, because you look at them and go, well, for how much they eat, everybody in that state should have mercury poisoning. Right. But they don't. Their body maybe can get rid of heavy metals faster than me. So my body has just never had to get used to depleting heavy metals out of my body. So when I eat it, I store it 4 times faster than they do, right? So then, like, I had mercury poisoning at one point in my life.
So then you make a game plan to get out there.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you have a 1, okay, pay attention. If you have a 2, it means you have to start really planning your life. At some point, something's going to give out. If your organs are based on a 150-year schedule, but I was talking to a pretty good genetic doctor. He goes, the human body as a whole was set to last about 150 years. Nothing ever makes it there because something gives out or something starts to give out, and then everything else has to rely on or help contribute to not letting it give out. So then you're draining the battery somewhere else. So your whole body might be in perfect shape, and then you die because your brain gives out, or you get Alzheimer's or whatever it be. Everything looks great, but you have a heart attack, right? The brain's still great, but something always kind of gives out over time, and we put a lot of stress on our body. None of us live in a perfect environment. So when you look at that, it's going to explain what you need to watch for. It's great because it lets you know what kind of peptides, small molecules, things that can help you, but also tells you eating habits, exercise habits, things along those nature, what vitamins you should or shouldn't take. It's also what to avoid. So it's a really cool test. I think it hits like 800 genetic markers, which is way more than everything else and why it costs so much. But it's based on real blood. You're not going to get all that crap out of a saliva.
Is this something you get from a doctor?
You can order online. I think you can Google it, age code genetic test. And yeah, it's definitely worth it. I know there's other ones out there, but this one, like I said, you look at it and you start reading why you have twos and whatever, and you go, shit, it's all making sense based on my genetic code.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool because you have less saying, I could go to you as a friend, I could go to a doctor, maybe somebody that we've talked to as well. So there's education on a bunch of different levels.
How many people have you seen and then you go, man, they were in perfect shape. They never smoked. They hit the gym every day and died at 52. This is where that test goes. Everything looks perfect, but you didn't know this. Yeah. And if your kidneys, you get chronic kidney disease too early, or you have a fatty liver issue, or you have a respiratory, like people don't realize things are always go wrong. And like you said, if it slowly builds up, but it's building 50% faster, you might not really realize how bad it is. It's not like a cut where it's like instant pain. You get used to this slow build of whatever it is, and you just start slowing down. That's what aging is.
Right.
But that one thing kills you quicker.
You kind of brought up earlier about somebody coming in and saying, hey, these are my goals right now. And you can do a very simple, my shoulder hurts, I want to lose weight. But now you've got an extra thing where it's going, hey, we can really identify this and help build the goals, whether it's you go into the doctor and review them and how the peptides can go in. Where do you start? Let's say somebody goes and takes this genetic test, right? And they've got a bunch of markers, energy levels low, whatever it is. It's like, all right, mitochondria health, this and that. You start by just going straight onto peptides. Do you fix some things first? Can you do it at the same time?
So like I tell people, every one of those is a tool. So peptides are a tool. Eating is a major tool. Like I tell people, you can take all the steroids in the world. You don't eat food, you don't get any bigger. You got to use all the pieces. Yeah. Take all the steroids in the world, you don't eat food, or you don't go to the gym, you don't get any bigger, or you get bigger the wrong way. So you got to game plan the whole thing together. The good news is no one ever really used peptides until the last couple of years, unless you were a diabetic that was keeping you alive. Like these are for the most part new. And we know so much more about food than we ever have. Like most people don't realize that bananas completely negate all the things if you eat them at the same time as berries, antioxidants. If you put a banana in your smoothie with your blueberries and raspberries, all that stuff, you just might as well just drink a fucking milkshake. You completely negated the benefits of all those things. But I'd say right now, 99% of the people watching this had no idea about that because everybody puts a freaking banana in their damn smoothie.
It tastes good.
It tastes good. And they think, oh, it's bananas.
And you can get it. You can go to Lifetime and get them, like bananas and
smoothies. It's a cheap base that adds like a creamy texture to it, balances, so people put them in. But you can put it with your papayas and your pineapples. Go for it all day long. Keep it away from your antioxidant berries. People don't know. So with peptides, now you look at it and go, okay, well, what are your goals? It's like, okay, well, if you take the genetic test, let's say you don't do it because that's expensive. At least know what your goals are. I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay. I want more energy and I want to be like more cognitively there. Okay, great. So let's start with those three. And I always tell people, don't jump into like 20 things at once. If you're like, I want to lose weight, I'm going to take a GLP with 5-amino-1 with a diet, whatever. Don't do that. Start with one and see how your body does. Give yourself at least 4 weeks, if not longer, because you don't necessarily want to throw the kitchen sink at something because you get great results right away. Then you could start adding on to see different benefits. And then you'll notice what those benefits are. You'll realize some things don't work at all. I see people that come in, they're like, okay, I want to take like tesamorelin. I want to do tirzepatide. I want to take sloop and 5-amino-1. They're like, all of a sudden you're like, okay, you added like 5 things to try and lose weight. You could be thinking this is the greatest cocktail in the world. This is amazing. But you could have left 2 off and got the same result, right? Mm-hmm. They're kind of flushing your money down the drain because you have no idea what. And when you go to do it again or whatever, and you want to leave some of the stuff, you might not know. You don't know which ones did it.
Yeah.
Sort of the base. I say if you're going to work on like a symptom, target the symptom and target the symptom only. If you are looking to lose weight, that's like a big one, right? But like, let's say you're targeting the brain. If you're like, yeah, I'd like to, I'm feeling a little depressed lately, just not feeling good about myself, and I feel like I'm getting dumber.
So here's kind of an interesting thing on this one, because I'm always like a thing in my head where I'm like, I know what the issue is, right? If I'm tired, energy's low, if I'm not feeling great about myself, like I could point at it right now and go, okay, I'm not eating that well. I'm not going to the gym.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is an interesting thing that I've had this like thought before where it's like, I've started, I go through these cycles. This is my life, right? I've done this my entire life, right? And it's like, all right, just go fix this stuff. So what I've done is with the tools of the peptides that I have, I'll eat healthy, I'll work out for a month without anything just to kind of get my base back to normal. Then I kind of reward myself by bringing it in. But I don't know if that's the right thing or wrong thing to do. I know there's not one.
It's not right or wrong. So like I said, they're tools. So you're just going to fast track yourself there. Like I said, you are going to have a somewhat altered perspective of what it is. Because if you were not exercising and you were not eating right and you change those, you like, let's say maybe you lose 8 pounds the first month because that's a huge change.
Mm-hmm.
But you had a GLP on there and you lose 20. And if you just the GLP and didn't exercise, you'd lose 10. There's nothing wrong.
Right.
Well, I mean,
and there's so many different ways to do it. It's just an interesting, like,
there's no right or wrong.
No.
It's just, do you have the money and, what motivates you? Like I said, most people get motivated by not wasting money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you buy the gym membership, you get a trainer and you spend the money on the peptides, you're not going to leave it in your closet and not go to the gym. You're just like, I just dropped $1,000. I'm going. And if it gets you to a place further, faster, that might get you to where you don't stop, in my opinion. So I would say if you got the tools, use them. I wouldn't slow roll, especially with your health. Why slow roll your health?
Yeah. I mean, I've done it a couple different ways, right?
Don't go and buy a Ferrari for your first car. You're going to crash it.
Sure.
You got to build up to something like that. You got to learn how to drive before you do that. But in this case, no. But don't overdo the peptides either. And don't overdo a diet. Don't jump into a crazy crash diet that you can't sustain, because that's going to unmotivate you. Don't go to the gym and hurt yourself. But yeah, do a little bit of everything. You're going to get further along.
I mean, even self-comparisons, I'm not going to go and try to lift like I was 20 right now. I'm like, I know I've injured myself enough times. It's like, hey, get back into it, slow build it up. And it's going to take time. And I think that's a powerful message. Just don't expect something overnight.
I'll tell you right now, you're going to get a lot of results pretty much overnight. Within a week or two, you can see massive changes.
Yeah.
They work that well. I mean, this is the greatest vitamin, so to speak, that you can ever take without taking a drug. Steroids work really fast and really effective, but they also have high risk, high reward kind of thing. You also have the chance of creating something negative very quickly in the body of how strong it is. This is definitely more of a slow burn, slow roll on these, but they still amplify massively. And 5 years ago, we only had a few peptides that worked, and they worked okay. We've come so much further, and there's tons more coming.
We could kind of work on inflammation. You can work on mitochondria health and stuff. Do you see between those two? Because I think they have a lot of things that are interlinking with how the body's feeling, of fixing one before the other.
Well, I mean, once again, it's good to run sometimes. Now, I would say that I'm a big fan of like maybe run a repair agent on your mitochondria before you go straight in for the mitochondria, because if you aren't working out, you're probably not producing much like MOTS-c in the body, because that's basically released during exercise. So maybe you run something more like an SS31 that helps rebuild your mitochondria and reshape them and get them up to speed. Whereas MOTS-c works on the actual functionality, like the triggering response to create the energy. So maybe you start fixing them that way, because if you go start exercising, you start producing more of that anyway. So it's like an overall repair, right? Or like you can look at things like ATX304 or anything in that nature where you're cleaning out the crap, like you're emptying the garbage so that your body can focus and only send the signaling to the right ones. So it's more efficient, perhaps, like that. There's no right or wrong on that either. MOTS-c, it's like 4 injections, and you'll get the response, hopefully, that you're wanting. And if you really need it, you will. People that are optimized maybe don't see nearly the effects of like a MOTS-c, because we're already producing, we already have that. But we'll definitely see the help on the repair, because we all break down. that's more effective for us. I know like Jay and myself and a lot of other guys that we talk to, like I prefer using those types of products than the Mot C because I don't think it really does much for me. But then there's other people that they do it and they're like, first
Game
day.
changer.
I don't get that feeling from it.
I think the inflammation thing is a pretty easy. Why would taking inflammation down help somebody out? I don't know if people know as much about mitochondria health. Can you kind of give a little explanation of mitochondria health and why that's important?
Yeah, you hear the word. I think some people have no idea what that even is.
It's a hot word right now.
So. It is. And I remember I was at the conference in Dallas when they started bringing up mitochondrial function peptides 4 or 5 years ago. It was really cool to start seeing them come across. You got your nucleus and then you got the blob around it, right? And the mitochondria is in that outer wall, and that's what creates your energy for your body. You have trillions of cells creating energy in there, and that's what gets you going, right? So if you have poor mitochondrial function, then there could be a lot of reasons, but a lot of it, we talk about if you keep moving, you stay moving, right? You don't give a chance for your mitochondria to get out of shape. Now, the good news is your cells, based off your body, not your brain, they're gone every 4 to 6 months. You recycle, you get more. You always have the ability to, if you start a good habit, those will cycle out. You're going to get some energy back.
Retrain it.
But if you are jumping in, you are having serious energy issues, then yeah, you can take those things. And even if you are okay, you can still get a nice bump where you get more energy out of it. And the good thing about mitochondria is it's not the same as like a stimulant, like caffeine or something like that, because they turn on, turn off. When you go to bed, they're like, okay, they settle down. Like that's how the body works. So you get the best out of them when you need them to. It's like the response. Motzi helps that response happen faster, more efficiently, so they can turn on and off better.
Is there a link with stimulants, coffee, caffeine, whatever? I know there's good caffeine, bad caffeine, probably overdoing it, and energy levels, mitochondria. Do you think there's any link there? Anything
watch out for? No, watch out. I don't drink nearly as many energy drinks as I used to. They're so bad. And I was drinking a ton at one point in my life. I don't know if there's really any link with the peptide side of it, but overdoing caffeine is never really good. There are much better versions of caffeine, like coming from natural sources. So if you can get energy not from having to chug, that's a much better source. I've converted more to tea and coffee if I am going to do it, but I don't really drink coffee anymore in the morning. And I only have one in the afternoon if I'm bored. Like I don't need it. It's more of a
meeting coffees for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm out and about. And it's like, oh, let's stop for a minute and gather at a coffee shop. It's like there instead of a beer. If I'm trying to go through there, I pick that over the other, but you kind of need somewhere to go. If you don't need that, then, I love getting like those Asian coffee shop teas. I love sweet stuff. So I get like teas with the passion fruit.
I thought you were talking about that Vietnamese coffee I've seen. Oh God, like the overdrive.
No, I get those just because that's the only coffee that I'll drink where I actually feel it.
Yeah.
So if I'm like, I am dying, yeah, you go get this. I don't know how they do it. Well, I do, but it is so much stronger than anything else on earth.
I can't drink it. It kills me.
Oh yeah, it's great.
But yeah, it was funny. I know I've gone to the coffee shop with you and Drew before. It's the funniest thing.
Well, I was in Vietnam. I drank like 20 of those things a day. I came back. I was like so tired when I left Vietnam for the Philippines and I stopped drinking them. Like my body needed a reset for a couple of days. That's nuts. Took like 6 naps.
I do love going to the coffee shop with you and Drew though. This is what happens. I get an espresso. I think Drew gets a cortado and Trevor goes, I'll take a double sweet vanilla latte.
I don't go pumpkin spice. I stick with my vanilla. Although I did have a s'mores latte in Hawaii the other day for Christmas, but they didn't put my freaking marshmallow on top. I was so pissed. That was what sold it for me. It's supposed to get a marshmallow on top.
Like graham crackers on it too?
It was still delicious, but they said in a toasted marshmallow on top, and there's no toasted marshmallow. Yeah.
So here's the one I was kind of trying to get at was the peptides can't fix you if your system's out of whack.
They'll mask it. Fixings.
I mean, there you go. That's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier was like, if your body's out of whack, I will say my body's out of whack right now for me.
But right? Like so in the grand scheme of things,
I'm not being self-deprecating, but for me, where I know where I feel optimized versus where I feel now, a lot of it's just working and trying to figure out a balance of time and stress, whatever, lack of sleep here and there. But I know I'm out of whack for where I could be. Again, I think it's going into what we talked about. Like you could jump into doing a couple things that kind of get you back in, but is it going to fix your system?
No, but it's going to help you get back sooner. I'm a big fan of running those blends of like the CJC, testosterone, and ipamorelin, kind of CJC and testosterone together because they work off the same receptor. Using those different blends for what you're doing, like there's the 3X blend that's out there and it uses testosterone and ipamorelin, the two safest versions of a GHRP and a GHRH, and then a little bit of mechanistic growth factor mixed in, which is really good about repairing muscle tissue while you're exercising, right? Because that's like that specific piece, but it doesn't work on inflammation. And I like that on purpose. And the reason why is most people just associate all inflammation as bad. But if you're working out, and you don't have an actual problem, you really are just looking for more like benefit of recovering faster, not necessarily inflammation, because workout inflammation is good for you, right? So you need to tear the muscle for it to grow. You don't want to stop that signal from happening, right? So that's why it's like, don't work out and then jump in a freaking ice bath. The reason why you see these Olympians and stuff like that doing it is because they're literally breaking their body. They can't walk. They can't move. Doing the cross country stuff. The body is so beaten up by that because you're going so much further than the body would naturally go. Being sore is cool. Like that shows you. Now, if you hurt yourself or there's like, my knee from like 20 years ago when I screwed it up is starting to come back. Yeah, okay, maybe you'll start looking at it then. But that inflammation, like, be proud of that inflammation is good. But if you need to repair faster, like the testosterone, ipamorelin, and MGF, your body's going to actually heal faster. So not just pull inflammation out.
And the way I kind of look at it, right? You're doing a bunch of micro tears in your body when you're working out, which rebuilds muscles get bigger because of it, right? Somebody that gets sore, if you do a big arm day, you get sore. You can't lift something for the next 3 days, especially if you haven't worked out for a long time. But if you're using the MGF, the testosterone, the ipamorelin, what could potentially happen is you feel better maybe a day earlier.
That's the thing. I see this a lot is people do it and they're like, dude, I don't get sore anymore. And it's true. Like when you go to bed and you're taking that product and you're producing growth hormone massively more than normal at night with everything in there, your body's healing massively faster. So you would have been inflammation, sore for a day or two and you end up not having it at all. Right? The body heals and inflammation goes away.
And then you can work out again.
You work out again. But, you want to follow what the body is telling you. As you train longer and harder and go to certain points, when you could keep pushing. And if you have things like peptides, you can probably push harder because you're going to have better recovery. If you're actually trying to grow, my coaches were always like 3 days on and you take a day off. You do one body part a week. If you truly want to grow, that was always the method, and it's true. I could go up to like 265, 270 running that routine and getting bigger.
One body part a week, meaning you do
one arm workout a week. So whereas like a lot of people pair two together.
Yeah.
And it was different. It's like, no, beat the crap out of it so bad. You just use one day.
Bicep day, you have tricep day.
No. You do like an arm, but like back day is one. It's a huge muscle grouping. And you just go in there and you just keep hitting your back for that until it's dead. Because most of your real tears that are going to grow come from those last sets and come from those last pulls. When people are sitting there, if you're the whole time, you're like, oh, that was a great workout. And you're still lifting the same amount you were lifting when you got there, probably not going to do a whole lot. I max out every round. I don't ever get to the last one and go, okay, I'm going to do sets of 10. And I get to 10. I'm like, okay, I could have done 4 more. No, I do 4 more. And then when that last one's like, ooh, this is tough, boom. Then if I got to 14, I up the weight because I want to be between like 10 and 12. Mm-hmm. But if I get like, there's a 7 at the end, that's good too. Because I got all the way to my last, and I do 4 sets. But when that 4th set hits, if I'm only getting to 7 or 8, that last one's a struggle. But yeah, if you're trying to go, it was one thing because you're going to do so much in that time frame. And I would only do no more than 5 sets. Maybe I do 6 on like, if it was like an arm day because you have triceps involved. But, if you're doing back, that's also big. So you'd probably do 5 or 6, right? Because you got to hit lower, middle, and kind of top. But yeah, leg day was 2 days because you did front of the legs and then you did back of the legs because it's so big. But yeah, so my split was 3 on, 1 off. So it was arm day, back day, chest day. Right? Then you do front of legs, back of the legs. And then I would do shoulders. And if there was anything that I felt like I needed to work on a little bit more, maybe like I do abs, right? But even then, you don't need, like, everybody's got them. The reason why most people can't see them is because they're covered with fat and skin. Mm-hmm. They're all there. And most people, you don't want abs popping out, right? So you can get them, but that was like how we would do it. It was 3 on, day off, 3 on.
So that changed at all for you since Peptides?
Well, yeah. So now I'm not trying to grow to that size anymore, right? I'm trying to just maintain. So now I do a 3-day split. I don't even take the day off. I'll do 5 or 6 days in a week, and I'll take 1 day off instead of 2 days off in a week, kind of thing. But I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to maintain and just stay in that spot. And I just like going and doing it. And I do 2 muscle groups. But if you're trying to grow, the recovery is important. You want to burn yourself out that you don't want to work that muscle for a few days.
But doing the 3X plan,
you're going to recover a lot faster. So you'll feel like you can do it, right? And that's where steroids and peptides and all these things work, is because they get you back to the gym faster. And that's the same thing with like doing ice baths.
So, I mean, you've got some peptides that'll help with the inflammation.
Huge. And like I said, those are for injuries. I tell people all the time, I go, are you injured? People are like, oh, I'm taking BBC. That's the most popular one in the world besides the GLP.
See where I'm getting at with this question.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm taking BBC. I'm like, oh, do you have an injury? No, I just taking it. Oh, how long have you been taking for? Oh, 3 months. Why? I'm like, do you have stomach issues? No. So you just like taking BPC? Well, yeah, I feel great on it. I'm like, honestly, if you stop taking it, you probably feel just as well. Like, I get it. Like, if you've never done it before, want to do like an overall body healing? Sure, whatever. But why are you still taking it?
Well, is there something too? I mean, you want that inflammation, right? Is there a negative effect in that point?
I think it hinders your long-term goal.
Which is interesting. I don't think people think about that.
That's why I tell people all the time. They're like, oh, I take TB 500. I'm like, now you should have an injury to take TB 500. And if you do have an injury, don't take the Wolverine. The Wolverine stack that everybody uses is meant for basic recovery, just like if you were running for 2 weeks to a month, right? Just trying to get an overall health benefit. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to go on vacation and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'll be gone for 10 days at the end of the month. I'm going to be on a boat. There's no gym. So I'm forced to recover. I'm going to run like a full recovery for those 10 days, because usually I don't ever let myself fully heal because I still work out even if I'm right. So like, that's a good time to do it. But I don't touch those things year round.
I'd love to see like go get your shoulder. You said you're having issues with like before and after that trip.
Yeah, it's actually not a horrible thing to do. Maybe I do set that up. I'll go do an MRI now and then an MRI afterwards. Cool. It's not exactly a cheap thing to do.
But I mean, we got a visual YouTube thing here, right? And you could kind of show the before and after of that.
I don't know how much you're really going to get in 10 days if there is a problem, but why not?
Do right?
We'll check it out.
I think it'd be interesting. So
yeah, but I mean, you got that, and the same thing goes with, like I said, if you don't have energy issues and you're not fighting that. I hear people, they're like, yeah, I take Mot-C 3 days a week. I don't know if you need that. Mot-C, just get it maybe once a quarter or something. It's like a maintenance thing.
Yeah.
But if you're not suffering from that, like rotate that around.
I've heard about it for diabetic use.
Well, that's different. If type 2 diabetes, you have a problem. So you're using, maybe that's in your protocol to try and help reverse something with diabetes. Mm-hmm. But I think people hear buzzwords and they just jump into using something because it's cool. But like I said, I think you really need to look at what is there actually anything wrong? Or what is your goal? And if your goal is to lose weight, put on muscle, and be smarter, but then you'll hear people say like, cool, I'm going to run 3 energy boosters at BPC and TB 500. I'm like, that's not part of what you want to get accomplished.
So where do you see this going then? If you got, there's so much kind of question. It's not a one size fits all. We obviously work with a bunch of doctors. We're educating and everything.
Yeah, that's 90% of our business is doctors.
So, and obviously the doctors have their customers, their patients, right? So where do you see this going in the next year, 5 years and stuff with the education, with having a specific protocol for people and being able to look at it?
Well, the good news is being more and more embraced by doctors, being more and more embraced by the government. I don't think the secondary higher market of certain industries like it very much because it's helping more than they expected it to. So there's a little pushback there. Looks like we're going to get a lot more kind of like that for human use through the pharmacy side and the 503, 503B, A and B system, to where you're going to be able to really kind of dive in and legitimately run these without a research tag, so to speak.
Some transparent talks with doctors,
like
and the doctors
normal talks, right? And then there's so much more education out there. I didn't make CJC forever because there wasn't any information out there, and people were having the flushing, all this stuff, freaking out and going to the hospital or taking too much because they didn't understand like protocols, and there was no doctors that knew what to talk about. So it was all just people just testing this stuff on themselves, but not knowing what they're doing and causing, adverse effects, like nothing permanent to happen to anybody. No one died, but I refused to make certain things.
I remember having this conversation with
because people didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And it was basically, okay, kids, if you don't want to actually do research and you're just going to blatantly just shove something. And that's where I think To this day, like I tell people, I go, China makes a lot of stuff and they make a lot of stuff great. Doesn't mean that everybody from China makes something great. And if you're not going through a reliable source, why are you buying something? You'll go out and buy crap sugary cereal or drink crap alcohol, but then you hear people like race the bottom for something they have no idea where it's coming from, no backing, and I'm going to stick a needle in myself with that. That blows my mind. It's like, really?
Got the hot word peptide. There are so many good doctors out there that actually know their shit.
You should go see one of those first.
Go find those doctors. Those doctors can have conversations, can do the testing, can figure it out, and really optimize you in the way that you can. Because it's going to be really hard just to do it on your own.
It's not hard, but are you really reading the right information? It's not hard.
Well, you're just talking about the easy button, right? Where people order stuff from China and they're just going to stick it in their skin. Yeah, it's almost the easy button. The easy button in reality is going and talking to your doctor because they've done all the research for you.
And you're not going to inject the wrong thing. And then that's the other thing. Like people go, oh, they didn't work for me. Where'd you get it? Oh, I got it from my buddy's brother at the gym. Okay. Where'd he get it from? Oh, I don't know. What do you pay for it? $25. Fake. Like it's just the reality of it. If it's made in a laboratory in this country or a pharmacy in the country or a drug manufacturer in this country, whatever it is, if it's made at a real place here, that actually that's what they do. The price, there is no way to make it as cheap as what these people are paying for. And it's not that it's expensive. It's just they look at it and go, oh, I'd rather pay, and $20 is way too cheap. But, let's say they're paying $60 there. It's $80 from us. They're like, oh, it's, 25% less. Yeah, it's also probably 200% more dangerous.
And the quality place is post-approved, right?
Well, but even that, like you've seen, like that's why there's a lot of crackdown going on right now on people is because they're forging them. They're testing one batch and then not doing the other 9 that they purchased.
So here's the way to do this.
Like they actually don't have a whole batch and lot system, or they're not making them right. So how do you know what was bought and what wasn't?
So this is how we can teach people to read stuff online, right? I think this is actually important. Is one, you want to look for the date that it was made. If it's not posted, there's something screwy.
Okay, let's look at this again then. Who are you getting it from? Is it someone that actually is producing it, or is it someone that's reselling it?
Right. And how do you verify that?
If they're just throwing a label on it, they can just keep printing the same label. But if they actually have multiple batches or they post records for dates, then there's more legit. That's something to look at. So if you go on there and you look at BPC, they've only done one test and that's the only one you see on there and it's from April. Well, if they're a big company and they're still selling April, they haven't done any testing. So
you can look at all these third party. This is why this is important. Is there's always a QR code or there's a website that you can go verify. If there's no verification on a website or there's no QR code or third party place to see it, there's something sketchy.
Yeah. And you look at purity and potency and that's good because you know what's in the bottle for sure. But then there's other things like endotoxin reports and sterility reports. Those are what get you sick. Purity and potency means you got what you wanted as far as the product, which is important. But I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, and nobody that's just re-rolling the product over to make like a quick buck, they're not usually paying for endotoxin and sterility reporting because it costs more money and people don't know what it is. But those are the things that you go, oh, I feel really nauseous or sick, or I feel like I got the flu or whatever. Then when you're doing those, because they didn't test for those. And that's what it is. I'd rather get a bottle with nothing in it than a bottle that looks good with a endotoxin through the roof or an unsterile product. But at the same time, everybody's like, oh my God, I took a product and I got a red spot. Like you need to know what the hell you took because depending on if you injected it wrong, like some things go into muscles and not fat. And then sometimes you took 5 times the amount or some things just cause inflammation and irritation, like GHKCU, super common, chemical burn.
Which is why it's important to go to a doctor that knows what they're doing.
At least you got to know it is because, if you freak out about something, it's like I said, it's good to go to a doctor through telehealth or someone that you can actually talk to.
Things are changing in the industry where that's going to become readily available and a lot more transparent.
It looks like we'll have about hopefully 30 to 40 approved for some form of medical manufacturing early in 2026, which means it's just a lot easier for doctors to get you what you want from a pharmacy or a drug manufacturer. right? And if they follow that rule, at least you know you're getting something that should. And that's the thing. There's not every compounder is good either. Like we do things wrong here, So I'm never going to say it's a perfect, but I'll tell you right now, at least those facilities are or should be inspected by someone, state or federally. So someone is at least holding them accountable. And, I don't think anybody here is flying to China to inspect those buildings. I know we have, like where our actual products are made, the base materials. We actually hired a company to go visit the facilities and see them. And then one of my partners speaks Chinese, Japanese, was over there for 10 years, worked in China. When we've gone to China together and we're going in and inspecting facilities. He speaks the language. He's able to talk, see what's going on there. A lot of people will never in their lives go to China to inspect a facility. They just kind of hope that everything's going perfectly.
I mean, and that's the thing is there's a large network of doctors and we're happy to help point people in the right direction for people that are doing it right.
So, yeah. I mean,
ask your friends, ask whoever, but like make sure you're doing the right thing, right?
I hope that in sometime in the future that we get to the point where it's going to the store and buying NyQuil or aspirin or whatever it might be, where you can pick up a box and it tells you this is what's in here and this is what your range of what you should do and how you should do it. Because a lot of these are pretty darn generic. There's a super safe range. Consult a physician if you want to go outside these bounds, right? Mm-hmm. They don't give you 800 milligram ibuprofens off the shelf, but you can get them behind the pharmacy, right? But you got to go talk to a doctor while you're taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen at once, or a Vicodin, or whatever it might be, right? So sure, sell the base product for the very safe range, something you can pick up at a Walgreens or whatever. And then from there, if someone needs more, that you have type 2 diabetes, you have something like that, you're talking to a doctor and then they can get you a higher dosage of whatever that is. And that would be the most amazing thing because there's so many safe ones. And now there's so many orals too. Those are so easy to pop on there and keep them safe. I mean,
they're going to be different applications for different ones.
It's fucking 20 times stronger than opium over the counter. And you can't get a bottle of BPC to help your gut. Come on.
I think things are changing for the better though.
I remember when you used to be able to get GHB from GNC.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. You used to be able to buy bottles of it. It's now the date rape drug, right?
That's crazy.
You just go in there and buy it and walk out the store. No ID.
Your thing came up. But is the website, like you're doing your own personal branding?
Yeah, it just started.
Right now, right?
Yeah, this just started this month pretty much. Right. But I was filming for Netflix all that time. And I mean, it just started. So we're in post-production, but they call this bigger than a terabyte, right? So they've like 4 triggered bytes of footage because we filmed on the same cameras that they film Marvel movies on.
Editing on Frame.io.
So it's just so high def. The files are huge. So they're going through all those files and it's one thing to film something, but to film it and make sure that it strings together, it takes time. So they'll have episode 1 and the trailer done next week. And then it's basically, we'll have another episode every 2 weeks after that. So we'll be done by February, March.
It'll go quick.
And then you're hoping to get on summertime, early fall. I don't know.
Time today.
See you.